Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Brent from Team Draw Better, and we are back with another deck profile. And today we are returning to Mimighoul. Now, before we jump into it, if you enjoy this video, don't forget to leave a like, a comment, and subscribe for more content. So, without further ado, we're just going to jump straight into it. So, the sneak peek for Rage of the Abyss was this weekend, and we did end up winning the playmat as a raffle there. So playmat is absolutely gorgeous. I'm hyped for Sharks and this. But we're going to get into this deck profile. So starting off, we are playing one copy of Mimighoul Master. We cut this to 1 because of the new Xyz monster. The new Xyz monster can literally just search this guy from practically anywhere except banished. But when Mimighoul Master is summoned, you can add any Mimighoul monster from your deck to your hand except itself. And then during your opponent's main phase quick effect, you can change one face-down monster on the field to face-up attack or defense position. So again, this is really easy to search out with the new Xyz monster, which we'll get to later in the video. But moving on, we do still play 3 Dragon. 3 Dragon is like Mimighoul Dragon is your best normal summon because when it's normal or special summoned, you can add 1 Mimighoul spell or trap from your deck to your hand, and then its flip effect, when this card is flipped face up in the main phase, apply these effects in sequence. You can destroy all face up monsters except Mimighoul monsters and give control of this card to your opponent, which is fine because you're always going to flip it up on your opponent's field. Next, we are playing 3 Archfiend. Archfiend is still another one of the best monsters to be able to normal summon, especially if you have face-down monsters on your opponent's field, because when it's normal or special summoned, you can change 1 face-down monster on the field to face-up attack or defense position, and its flip effect, your opponent draws a card and you send 1 card from your hand to the graveyard. So again, this is going to be happening on your opponent's field. So they're going to be sending 1 card from their hand to the grave and you're going to be drawing a card. So that's always a plus. Next, we're getting into the new monsters. We're playing 2 copies of Mimighoul Fairy. Now, Fairy is, along with the other main deck monsters, it's exactly what this deck needed, because all these new monsters are basically extenders for the deck. But the flip effect for Fairy is when this is flipped face up, this turn you can't activate the effects of monsters special summoned from your hand and give control of this card to your opponent. So when you flip this on your opponent's field, they can still special summon monsters from the hand, but anyone that is special summoned gets immediately turned off because of Fairy. If Fairy resolves, they don't get any special summoned monster effects from the hand. So no Tenpai monsters, no Snake Eye Poplar, no Diabell Star. So Fairy is pretty strong. We run it at 2 because we just want to see it enough. But next, we're also playing 2 copies of Mimighoul Slime. Slime is one of your best monsters to choose off of Maker. And this is because when it's flipped face up, your opponent can special summon a Mimighoul monster from their deck to their field. So literally extender, because when you flip this face up, you get to special summon any Mimighoul from your deck. And one thing I forgot to mention with these, we'll get to it in a second, and we're also going to be playing 1 copy of Armor. Armor is nice just for a little bit of protection, and I play it at 1 because its flip effect, Mimighoul monsters can't be destroyed by battle this turn. So if you don't really have plays and you just have a bunch of monsters on field, you can flip Armor on your opponent's board, and then all of your Mimighoul monsters are protected for the turn from battle. But with these new cards, the one thing they all have in common that these monsters don't is they all have a special summon condition to your field. So with Fairy, if you control a Mimighoul monster, you can special summon this face up to your field. For Slime, if your opponent controls more monsters than you do, you can special summon it to your field. And with Armor, if your opponent controls just a monster in general, you can special summon it to your field. So again, these new monsters are really what the deck needed as far as consistency and being able to push forward past interruptions. But that's going to be it for the monsters. So we're going to move on to the spells. So for the spell cards, we're going to be playing 1 Terraforming. And this is because we're just essentially playing 4 copies of the field spell. Dungeon is amazing because when it's activated, you can add any Mimighoul monster from deck to hand. Or, no, sorry, during your main phase, you can add 1 Mimighoul monster from deck or graveyard to hand. And you can only use this effect once per turn. When this is on field and your opponent controls a face-down monster, they cannot normal summon, and special summon monsters they control can't attack. So, Dungeon on field is really good to have. Next, we are playing 3 Maker. So before the support came out, Maker was a little iffy, but now Maker is literally 1 card combo because Maker's effect, you reveal 2 flip monsters with different names from your deck. Your opponent randomly picks one for you to special to their field and face down defense, and you add the other to your hand. Then you can special 1 Mimighoul monster from your hand. So the 2 best monsters that you always want for Maker are going to be Slime and Archfiend. If you're just trying to start making your plays, you want Slime and Archfiend. And the reason is because Maker is still a 50-50 chance, but in the sense of showing you guys, let's say your opponent selects Slime. So Slime will go to their field, and then you'll add Archfiend to your hand. Then you can special Archfiend. Archfiend effect, flip the Slime. Slime effect, you can special another Mimighoul. So then you have 2 bodies to start going into either your Xyz or your Link plays. So this is a really good play to go along with Maker. But moving on, we're playing 2 copies of Mimighoul Fork. Fork is another new card from Rhoda. And what it does is you can target a face-down monster your opponent controls. Your opponent chooses one of the following effects and you apply that effect. They can either change it to face-up attack or defense position or send it to the grave and its owner can draw 2 cards. So you only really play 2 of this because of its graveyard effect. You can banish this card from your graveyard and add Mimighoul Fork, so it searches itself. But I feel like you either play 2 of this or none at all. There is one other new card, and I can show it to you guys. I'm not playing it in my build, but this is the one other card that came in Rage of the Abyss, Mimighoul Charm. It's essentially like Kashtira Unicorn, because once per chain during the main phase, if a Mimighoul monster your opponent controls is flipped face up, you can randomly choose 1 face down card in your opponent's extra deck, and if it's a monster, that can be special summoned. Special summon it to your field, but it can't activate its effects this turn. And if it wasn't or can't be special summoned, you banish it. So this card is cool if you're playing the cash build. I'm not. I'm just playing pure. But yeah, if you are playing this, I would honestly recommend it in the Kashtira build, because you'd be ripping your opponent's extra deck monsters out left and right. But with Fork, you only play 2 because it's nice interaction, but you only need 2 because it can search itself. But otherwise, decent card. Can be a pot of greed if your opponent really doesn't want to have the flip effect go off, say dragon on their field to nuke their board. But moving on, we are playing 2 Triple Tactics Thrust, and we're playing 2 Triple Tactics Talent. These 2 cards are extremely free in this deck, because if you flip a monster face up on your opponent's field and its effect goes off, that counts as your opponent activating a monster effect. So these cards are extremely free in this deck. Like, I honestly consider them staples. So, last spell, we are playing 1 Dark Ruler No More. This deck has a little trouble going second sometimes. So with Dark Ruler, that can help turn off your opponent's board, and then you can start going into your plays. Plus, it's searchable off of Thrust, so really easy to get out. We're going to move on to the trap cards next. Now, not a lot of trap cards, but we are playing the best trap card in the deck. We're playing 2 Room. Now, Mimighoul Room, you always want to have on your end board, because you can special summon 1 Mimighoul monster from your hand or deck to your field or face down to your opponent's field. Then you can Book of Moon 1 face-up monster on the field. So, again, if you have Dungeon in your field spell zone, you have this set, and you have a couple other interactions. If you summon a face down to your opponent's field, they can't flip it face up that turn, so the dungeon, like Mimighoul Dungeon, is locked in. They can't normal summon at all unless they find out how to get rid of that face down. So, and Mimighoul's Room other effect, you can banish this card from your graveyard, then target any number of Mimighoul cards you control, return them to the hand. So this is really nice when you have Zeus on board and you have a couple other monsters, because you can go chain 1 Zeus to wipe the board, and then chain 2 Mimighoul Room, so you can target any number of Mimighoul cards. So you can target your monsters, you can target like a master you have, a dragon, and you can target the field spell, add them back to your hand so they don't get affected by Zeus, and you have them for follow-up. So really good trap. And then we do play 1 Angel Statue, because we are running Silhouette Rabbit in the extra deck. But next, we're going to get on to hand traps. So we play 12 hand traps in this build. We're playing the staples. We play 3 Ash. Ash is just to stop your opponent from, touching the deck. 3 Imperm to stop some monster effects. We are playing 3 Nibiru, just to sort of break the opponent's board a little bit more. Pretty strong in this format, but the card that's very strong in this format is D-Shifter. Now, I was on the fence about this, because you do want your graveyard a little bit more in this build, but D-Shifter is really strong. It can win games on its own because of all the graveyard-heavy decks this format, so I just wanted to play Shifter in main. Might be changing it out for Bestials, like 1 Druid Swarm, 1 Mag, and 1 Baldrake, but those are in the side deck right now. But we're going to move on to the extra deck next. So for the extra deck, we play 2 of the new Xyz Giant Mimighoul. Now, this is literally the most perfect card that the deck could have gotten for support-wise, because off of Maker, if you don't get the 2 cards that you want, like if you use Slime and you use Archfiend, let's say they summon Archfiend to their field and you summon Slime to yours, that's perfectly fine, because if you have another Mimighoul monster in your hand that can be normal summoned or special summoned, just normal summon it. If it has an effect, activate it, but then you can go into this. So when this is Xyz summoned, you can add any Mimighoul card from your deck to your hand. So this can get you anything that you need. It can get you Dungeon, it can get you Room, it can get you any of your monsters. So this is a really good card, and its other effect is non-Xyz Mimighoul monsters can attack directly when your opponent controls a face-down monster. So this card is really good for dealing damage too, because if you pair it with Room, you can summon a face-down and then just proceed to attack directly with a bunch of different monsters. And its other effect, You can detach one material from this card, then target face-up cards on the field equal to the number of face-down monsters your opponent controls, destroy them, and inflict 1,000 damage to your opponent for each card destroyed. So this is also a time card as well, and it doesn't have to be your opponent's cards. It can be your face-up cards because it says face-up cards on the field. So this card is pretty good, and it's kind of exactly what the deck needed. Now, moving on, we are playing another new Xyz, Mimighoul Throne. So you can detach one material from this card, special one Mimighoul Master from your hand, deck, or grave. And during the main phase, quick effect, you can target one Mimighoul Master you control, equip this card to it as an equipped spell that gives it 1,000 attack. Then you can return cards from the field to the hand up to the number of materials this card had. So, you get to make Mimighoul Master really big, and it's a non-targeting spin. So this is another good extender. It helps you get Master out without searching it off of dungeon or anything else. So really good extender again, and it's a nice piece of interaction because it's a non-targeting bounce. Next, we're playing number 13, the Embodiment of Crime. This is just to help you flip the Mimighoul cards face up. And the reason why is because once per turn during either player's turn, you can detach one Xyz material from this card and change all monsters your opponent controls to face up attack position. And all monsters your opponent controls have to attack this card. And while you control, if you control Embodiment of Punishment, this card gains these effects. This card can't be destroyed by battle while it has material and your opponent takes any battle damage. We're just playing this to flip our face downs face up. We don't really care about the second effect, but that's just if you don't have a way to flip the face downs face up. So that's just to help with that. We are playing the Zeus package. So Nightingale, Downard, Zeus. This is just to help you clear the board a little bit easier. For the links, we are playing one Anima. Anima we can go into because we have level 1 monsters. We're playing Asa the Earth Charmer. Now, the reason we play this is if you really need a monster, but you don't have any way of getting one, essentially, you can just go into Asa. You can go to battle phase, crash it, and you can add one Earth monster with 1,500 or less defense from your deck to your hand. So, yeah, this is just if you don't have any other way to get any of your Mimighoul monsters because all of them are Earth. So we play one Nightmare Phoenix just to get rid of some back row. We have one IP, we have one SP, one Silhouette Rabbit, like I mentioned, and we have one Access Code Talker, and we have one Nightmare Griffin. Now, a really cool play you can do with Nightmare Griffin, I think I mentioned it in the previous video, but with Nightmare Griffin, you can link off 2 of your monsters for IP, and if you set Mimighoul Room and pass, and let's say your opponent flips up all of your Mimighoul monsters, let's say they have 2 over there. So you have 2 more materials for IP. During their turn, you go IP in for Nightmare Griffin, and then Mimighoul Room to summon a face down to Nightmare Griffin's arrow. They no longer can activate the effects of special summon monsters because Nightmare Griffin isn't co-linked with them. So this paired with Dungeon on your field zone is really strong. But we're going to go into the side deck. So for the side deck, we are going to be playing 3 Ghost Ogre. Ghost Ogre is just to help with getting rid of some nasty monster or spell. Like, you always want to use this on Nightmare Throne to stop their search, or even Nightmare Pain, just to get them off the board. But we are playing 3 Droll. I feel like Droll is going to be another strong hand trap this format, so we are side decking it just in case we play against, a deck that essentially loses to it. And like I mentioned before, we are playing 3 Bystials in the side deck. So the Bystials are nice because they can get rid of stuff in the graveyard, and Magnemite can actually search Mimighoul Dragon, so that's pretty cool. We're playing 2 Lightning Storm for back row removal. We're playing 1 Tikaboo because we play a bunch of different types of monsters. We have zombies, dragons, fairies, yeah, you name it. And then to round it up, we are playing 3 Solemn Judgment just to really shut off either a special summon or a spell or trap that we really don't like. But that's going to be it for the deck profile, guys. I'm very excited to play this new version of Mimighoul because it got the consistency boost that it desperately needed. I am going to be taking this to my locals this Saturday, so I'll be probably making a video on that to talk to you guys about how that goes. But if you enjoyed this video, leave a like, leave a comment, and subscribe for more. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I'll see you later.